Foreign Minister Okamoto had to turn around without even going inside the OTK company headquarters. After the car left, the protesters demanding an apology in front of the car clapped in unison, and the victims wiped away their tears. Jin Hu-kong bowed his head to greet them and then went back inside. The image was captured on camera and broadcast all over the world. The media poured out articles. Foreign Minister Okamoto humiliated in front of OTK company headquarters. Jin Hu-kong, say you won't give me back even a week. The Blue House, there is no reason to meet with Foreign Minister Okamoto. Comfort women and forced labor victims demand an apology from Foreign Minister Okamoto. Gang Jin-ho's diplomatic disrespect. Lowering the dignity of Korea. The voices calling for the government to step forward and apologize. What adverse effects will Jin Hu-kong have on Korea-Japan relations? What disadvantages the Korean government should bear diplomatically? Some conservative media such as the Chochung Ilbo expressed serious concerns about the deterioration of Korea-Japan relations, but most responded that they were blunt. Ha 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 ha. Kang Jin-ho is famous in Korea, China and Japan. Triple crown achieved. At this point, everyone has to admit a hat trick. I admit that this is a good thing. I got tired of fighting spirit after the earthquake. Everything I see is cool. Even if Okazaki comes and gets on his knees and begs, don't give it back. Diplomatic disrespect is a bummer. Isn't it the fault of the guy who came to me even though I didn't call him? I don't know if Kang Jin-ho is a public servant, but he's a civilian. What do you say to the government? OTK company is an American company, so why does the Korean government have to deal with diplomatic disadvantages? If you want to argue, go to the US and ask Mr. Rowe. Who is it? Who voiced the need for our government to step forward and apologize? It's just that the pro-Japanese people have a mag-uni. I went to Golden Gate's Korean branch with Taekyu. Hyunju Nuna and Ellie were waiting together. It seems like they are both exhausted from the recent rush of work. Did you enjoy lunch, sister? At Taekyu's question, Hyunju's older sister shook her head. No. Why didn't you eat? Does the rice look like it's going down your throat now? Said Ellie. I ate a sandwich. Well done. Even today your beauty shines. She just wants to get home from work and go on a date. As we sat down, Hyunju's older sister chewed on non-smoking gum. She said. Foreign Minister Okamoto has returned. You don't seem to think you don't have time yet. Are you really planning on doing it? Of course. The OTK company account contains 14.87 million Toyota shares. Even if you don't have to legally give it back, it's hard to keep holding the stock. Even if you own stock, you cannot realistically exercise management rights in Toyota. The Japanese government will not stand still. Ultimately, one of the two. Sell it somewhere or negotiate with the Japanese government and return it. The Japanese government is well aware that it is difficult to get a full refund. Slowly, there was talk of negotiating with a return of 7 or 80%. If only 70% is returned, the remaining 30% will be officially recognized as ownership. That alone is about 700 billion yen. That's enough business left over. If the Japanese government succeeds in getting the stock back, Prime Minister Okazaki and the LDP will breathe a sigh of relief and support will recover. If I give you 10 million shares, will you say thank you for giving me this much, or will I say something else later about not giving you 4.97 million shares? Taekyu said it was natural. How is it for a day or two to change Japanese children's words? Is that so? To end it like this, there are things I've done over there so far. It's a good opportunity, but it's a pity to let it go like this. Hyunju Nuna asked while chewing smoking gum. What about Ronald? I remembered the last call. You told me to kill myself. Actually, it's allowed. If Ronald cared about Japan's position, he would have mediated to return the stock at a reasonable level. He didn't do it, which meant he didn't mind. The yen was made under the consent of the United States. At that time, the export items between the United States and Japan did not overlap, and there was a need to contain the Chinese economy. Now, as the US is also focusing on manufacturing and exports, there was an atmosphere that it would no longer tolerate a lower yen. However, Prime Minister Okazaki continued to push the yen lower. This is because there is a great risk that the Japanese economy will collapse again if Japan's fiscal deficit increases and exports collapse in a situation where the domestic demand recovery is slow. Hyunju's older sister said. Anyway, the US was planning to tinker with Japanese automakers. There is also talk of a customs imposition. There's no reason to stop them if you say they hit you. Carlos is working with GM and Ford, and car workers are Ronald's most important supporters. However, the Japanese government and Toyota attacked Karis, driving public opinion around the world. I didn't mention it directly in the call, but I was convinced that if I moved, the US would help too. By the way, if you do this, you will be cursed again. Taijayu said. You've already eaten enough anyway. It is not. Eating a little more swearing here doesn't really change anything. However, I do not intend to insult myself. If you have to eat cursing, you should eat it all together. I mumbled the words of Karl Marx again. History repeats itself twice. Once as a tragedy, once as a comedy. Take you added a word. There is a saying that a slave is stabbed twice. I don't know where it came from, but it's a good word. The clock hand slowly pointed to 12:30. When the Nikkei afternoon market opens. I said, clapping lightly. Shall we begin? Japan Public Pension Fund, GPIF. It is one of the largest institutions in the world with over 1,500 trillion yen in operating funds alone. After an order mistake occurred at Nishida Securities, protests flooded all over Japan. 2.3 trillion yen of old age funds was blown away. Who would love it? In fact, if the manual had been followed, the accident would never have happened. If the management had been entrusted to several securities companies as before, even if an accident occurred, the loss would have been limited. However, this happened because the management authority was given to one Nishida Securities. Okuta, president of Nishida Securities, apologized for disciplinary action against the employee who made the mistake and that he would rectify the mistake as soon as possible. But no matter how hard he bowed his head, the problem was not solved. If you don't get your shares back, bankruptcy is hard to avoid. There is no single person to be held responsible. Some say that if the problem escalates, it will be difficult for even the prime minister to maintain his position. Koji Namiki, chief investment officer (CIO), sincerely hoped that Jin Ho-kong would change his mind and return the stock. No one can ignore the power of Japan. Can we get our stock back if we negotiate well? By the way. 12:30 p.m. Shortly after the Japanese stock market opened, Toyota stocks were sold. Tens of thousands of shares were sold at a time as if dropping a bomb. The sell-off bomb from the Golden Gate account pulled down the entire Nikkei index. The sudden situation shocked the Japanese financial world. I didn't even have to find out who was selling it. You crazy? Are you going to sell the stock at the market? There is no business in front of quantity. The stock, which stayed at 143,000 yen, fell more than 10% in less than 5 minutes. As the price was much lower than the market price, buy orders poured in from here and there, but the selling trend did not stop. If it had been sold through a block deal, it would have been more expensive than selling it in the market. But why are you so determined in selling at such a low price? Why? At that moment something came to mind. Today is the expiration date for options. Where did you buy futures and put options? Namiki quickly looked at the futures and options trades. I bought it not only from Golden Gate but also from various brokerage accounts. But when he looked skeptically, he continued to sell futures and buy put options. Who is this? What if we pour out all the remaining stock in time for the market closing time? It wasn't just one person who noticed the situation. In an instant, fear engulfed the Japanese stock market. The pension fund has the tendency of an index fund that tracks the index and puts the top-ranked stocks in the account according to the ratio. However, the Toyota stock, which should have been the most originally held, disappeared due to an order mistake. In this situation, when the for sale was pouring in, the public pension fund had no choice but to buy it back with a weeping mustard meal. Investors turned their attention to the Tokyo Stock Exchange. On the expiration date of the option, the stock price becomes more volatile. If Jin Ho-kong decides to attack, how much more volatility can he increase? Investors looked at the monitors and frantically placed orders. Are you sure you don't intend to sell all 2 trillion yen in one day? Are you going to lose on spot and profit on derivatives? Even if that were the case, the in-kind losses would be much greater. Anyway, the purchase price is only 14.97 million yen. So it doesn't matter if I lose, right? Around 2 p.m. local time in Japan. An emergency announcement was made in Washington, D.C. For reasons of national security, tariffs will be imposed on imported automobiles and parts in accordance with Article 232 of the Trade Expansion Act. Expected tariffs reached 20%. Read more at wuxiax.com. It was clear who the announcement was aimed at. Investors around the world noticed the situation in an instant. Does that Jin Hu Kong is saying that the United States does not want to intervene? The Ronald administration is not going to tolerate the yen anymore. It will be difficult for the Japanese stock market for the time being. It was the yen that pushed the Japanese stock market up. But what if the yen ends? Naturally, the profits of large exporting companies will decrease and the stock market will inevitably fall. You're not on a sinking ship. Even if you get on again later, you have to get off now. Before everyone could finish their judgment, they tapped the keyboard with their fingers. Activist hedge fund Albert Management. Founder and chairman Carl Singer was notorious for being a money-minded speculator. Warren Boat said that what he was doing was no different than a vulture devouring a corpse, blatantly insulting him. As much as that, he did not hesitate to do anything for profit, and he did not hesitate to do his garbage. He too had to resign after suffering a huge loss while dealing with Jin Hu Kong in the Korean market. Carl Singer said as if he was excited to see the Japanese stock market plummet. It's the first time I've seen a bastard bigger than me. As Toyota stock sold on the Tokyo Stock Exchange and the Nikkei plummeted, Japan was stunned. Prime Minister Okazaki, who was outside, returned to his official residence as soon as he heard the news. What is the pension fund doing? Minister of Finance Matsukata answered. We are doing our best. The public pension fund started to defend the stock price by returning cash to invest not only in domestic stocks, but also in overseas stocks, real estate and bonds. Use everything possible. Asking brokers to cooperate. Finance Minister Matsukata said in a cold sweat. Yeah, that's not just foreign companies, but Japanese securities companies are also joining in the sale. What? Prime Minister Okazaki turned to his monitor. It was seen that Nomura Securities was on the top of the futures selling list. In this situation, when the U.S. tariff policy was announced, hedge funds around the world joined in selling. Although the pension fund bought it and defended it, it was no different from blocking a collapsing dam with your own hands. All of this happened because of one person. Prime Minister Okazaki couldn't stand it any longer and shouted. You bastard! After Kong Jin. The Nikkei, which started at 20835, fell 8.02% to close at 19164, the biggest decline since Brexit. We poured over 2 trillion yen for sale on the option expiration date. The Nikkei index fell vertically like a waterfall. Along with the stock market, the futures and options markets fluctuated. Call options and put options were mixed. People who bought put options burst into cheers, and institutions that sold put options roared. Hyunju Nuna said as if muttering. It reminds me of the option shock of 2010. I thought that too. It happened in the Korean stock market, and at the closing price, foreign securities companies poured out their listings and the index plummeted, taking profits with options. But I guess I'll do something similar in another country's stock market. I nodded. History goes round and round. As Toyota's stock price plummeted, it suffered a huge loss in spot selling. However, thanks to foreign hedge funds rushing in and pulling the index down, the pre-purchased futures options hit a jackpot. Golden Gate also placed bets appropriately without any problems. An OTK company and Golden Gate took advantage of the stock market crash to earn profits. On the TV set on one side, the situation in Japan was playing. Ellie asked. What do you think will happen to Prime Minister Okazaki? Well. It is true that Prime Minister Okazaki fired 3 arrows and saved the Japanese economy. But why hasn't this good policy been used by other prime ministers? This is because of Japan's astronomical fiscal deficit. After implementing Okazakinomics, Japan's fiscal deficit exceeded 1,000 trillion yen. This is more than double Japan's GDP and the highest among OECD countries. No government can sustain such a deficit of this magnitude. The original plan was to revitalize the economy through financial expansion and fiscal expansion, increase tax revenue by raising the consumption tax and reduce the fiscal deficit. However, unlike exports, the domestic economy did not recover as much as expected, and the consumption tax hike caused a contraction in consumption. What would happen if the stock market, which was enjoying a boom, also crashed in this situation? Moreover, this would not have happened if the public pension fund had not entrusted Nishida Securities to monopoly management in the first place. Someone must be responsible. Hyunju Nuna said while drinking coffee. The Japanese government will protest again. What are you going to say? Then Take-you answered. Can't we just say that we made a mistake in ordering two? History goes round and round. Toyota shares were down 36%, and the stock market tumbled 8%. Meanwhile, the yen rose by nearly 4%, making a confirmation kill. Individual investors were stunned. Who is the worst person in the world for stockholders? I am not a lawmaker who commits corruption or a criminal on the news. That's the guy who's dropping my stock. During the bubble economy, when you wake up from sleep, house prices and stocks rise. Everyone packed up money and rushed, but the end was a pile of debt. Since Japan entered a prolonged recession, people have not even looked at real estate and stocks. Only cash piled up. The bank interest rate was zero, but in a state of deflation, the money actually increased as the value of money rose over time. At the time of the Great East Japan earthquake, there was one scene that surprised people all over the world. It was a safe that filled the beach with garbage. 10,000 yen bills were piled up inside the thousands of safes that were swept away by the tsunami and washed away again. Since everyone did not invest or consume, the economy could not function properly. Okazakinomics also included a stock market revitalization policy. It boosted export companies with the low yen and bought stocks by mobilizing public pension funds. As the company's profitability improved and investment money flowed in, the stock price naturally soared. There were people all over the place who said they made money by investing in stocks, and individuals who only knew about deposits slowly turned to investing in stocks. Thanks to this, the number of individual investors in the current Japanese stock market is the highest since 2000. But overnight the stock plummeted. Of course there was bound to be swearing. Chikusho. How much more do you plan to eat in Japan after Kong Jinhu being beaten by Zhou Sinjing? The stock doesn't come back, what's the deal? Why do you leave such speculators alone? What the hell is the government doing? Declare war on your opponent, whether it is Korea or the United States. Japanese securities firms were in an uproar as they checked the amount to be paid for options on futures. The loss of derivatives also overlapped with the drop in stock prices, resulting in an estimated loss of hundreds of billions of yen. It is as if the entire Japanese financial industry was hit by a nuclear bomb. The biggest problem is the public pension fund. The stock market crash further exacerbated the loss of public pension funds. Public pension funds account for 20% of equity investment in Japan. In monetary terms, it is 30 trillion yen. In addition to increasing the proportion in accordance with the government policy of revitalizing the domestic stock market, the increase in the stock price was also significant. Of this, 2.3 trillion yen evaporated due to an order mistake. However, due to the stock market crash, another 3 trillion yen has evaporated. The reason that the loss was greater than the extent of the decline in the index was because the stock price was poorly defended. More than 5 trillion yen of people's old age funds flew away. Who will be responsible for the loss of the pension fund? What the hell did the government do until it got to this point? Without information in the first place, it was impossible for OTK Company to sweep 15 million shares in less than a second. No mistake. There must have been a deal. What did Nishida Securities do with OTK Company? How much did the LDP decide to eat from Kong Jinhu? Reveal the truth. Who's in charge? Punish Prime Minister Mikuno Okazaki. The cabinet ministers are all accomplices. What do you mean by trusting people like that to entrust the country? Replace them all. Japan has traditionally been a bureaucratic society. Politicians are always replaced according to election results, but bureaucrats have always kept their positions. Unlike South Korea, where the president is elected for a single 5-year term, Japan, which is a cabinet system, frequently changes the prime minister. Even Japanese people are confused about who became prime minister and when. When Okazaki first became prime minister, he thought, like previous prime ministers, that he would not be able to go far. However, he managed to get the Japanese economy out of the recession and became the second long-term prime minister after the war. Prime Minister Okazaki set up a new personnel bureau in the cabinet, and through this, the incompetent among high-ranking officials was eliminated. In this context, the unqualified are, of course, those who go against the will of the HR manager. Whether it's a bureaucrat or an entrepreneur, it is natural to pay allegiance to the person who holds the personnel right. When this happened, the bureaucrats unanimously offered their allegiance to the Okazaki cabinet. In Japan there is a saying, Santaku. It had a good meaning of procrastinating the feelings of others, but it has been changed to mean that the subordinates take care of themselves according to the taste of the superior. Even if there were no instructions, the bureaucrats acted according to the wishes of their superiors. He manipulated statistics to make the economy look good, and manipulated official documents and meeting records of the Ministry of Finance when allegations of selling state land at a low price. Then when a problem arises, the ministers of the cabinet often withdraw their feet, saying that they did not know and that it was done by themselves. It was the same this time. Why did the public pension fund increase domestic stock investment, and why did it entrust it to Nishida Securities? Would Nishida Securities have given such special favors even if it had nothing to do with the Prime Minister's wife? While the mainstream media remained silent, an internet media outlet focused on the matter. The more I researched, the more suspicions I had. Nishida Securities, which was exclusively entrusted with management, beating all other leading securities companies, earned huge commission income every year. With the profits thus obtained, a dividend feast was held and Endamori, the major shareholder, took a huge dividend. However, the improvement of the work or the recruitment of manpower was not carried out properly. Employees suffered from heavy workloads and overtime, and had to do 2 or 3 tasks at the same time. The system to detect abnormal spells was also useless. It is truly a total mess. Originally, Japan was a country with stronger principles and regulations than any other country. However, everyone was in a hurry to please their superiors, and this caused the worst financial accident. When the article went out, all of Japan was outraged. How is this different from that the Korean president was the beneficial owner of PAS? Does it make sense to entrust people's old assets to such a third-rate securities company? Prime Minister Okazaki should be sent to prison just like the former South Korean president. Prime Minister Okazuka asks for the full amount. The Prime Minister's annual salary is only 40 million yen. Work underground for 100,000 years. If you die of old age, pay it back by doing servitude for generations. Just do it neatly in the spirit of a samurai. No excuses needed, an overwhelming apology. Dogeja on the heated iron plate. This time the opposition was not playing either. Opposition lawmakers criticized the government and again focused on the so-called Ayoko scandal. Even so, OTK Company, Karis is a complete American automobile company. With the U.S. already sensitive to the auto trade deficit, what was the government thinking of accusing companies of collaborating with GM and Ford? Are there any countermeasures against the U.S. tariffs? The Public Pension Fund is an independent institution that is responsible for people's old age assets. But in fact, isn't that the move according to the will of the government? Why did you exclude Nomura Securities and only focus on Nishida Securities? The major shareholder of Nishida Securities is Endamori. The Prime Minister's father-in-law was the chairman of Endamori, and his brother-in-law is now a director. Are you saying that people should believe in seeing that there is no preferential treatment in such a place? Who made that decision? How the hell did Japanese officials come to this? Prime Minister Okazaki did his best to deny the allegations. As Prime Minister, I have never given any orders. Also, Nishida Securities is a company that has nothing to do with my wife. I would like to say once again that this incident was caused by foreign speculative capital. The finance minister Matsukata was also sacked. As a result of the investigation, it was confirmed that the investment was made according to the procedure and there were no problems. It was an unavoidable measure for efficient investment and revitalization of the stock market, and there was no preferential treatment. The Japanese people were even more outraged at the sight of making excuses without taking responsibility for anyone. Perhaps this time they thought it was impossible, and even the heavyweights of the Liberal Democratic Party joined in the criticism. Distrust of the cabinet arose, and Prime Minister Okazaki, who was in a corner, had no choice but to make a decision. Read more at wuxiax.com. Breaking news. Prime Minister Okazaki decides to dissolve the House of Representatives. Emergency. Cabinet resignation. Entering the Japanese general election system. Is the Liberal Democratic Party possible again? Opposition parties pledge to win the general election. Even within the party, Prime Minister Okazaki's arguing of responsibility is fierce. LDP leaders, it is difficult to guarantee victory without replacing the governor. Newspapers around the world poured out articles. Korea also stopped broadcasting and sent out emergency news. It's amazing. After the Korean president, the Japanese prime minister was blown away. Haha, after a strong earthquake I accidentally touched one and this is what it looks like. Why did you touch Jin Hu-kong who is still like that? Okazaki looks like he's going to be pissed. Hehe, I'm a disgrace even if it's me. Only the iron plate to Jeja is the answer. If you do that in 10 minutes even the Japanese people will forgive you. It's time to step down from the Prime Minister's office. Apologize to the comfort women. You should be sent to prison like Park Si-hyung. Or send forced labor to warships. Just as China is a one-party dictatorship of the Communist Party, Japan is also a one-party dictatorship of the LDP. Only a handful of other parties have been in power. As the opposition party was devastated, there was a high probability that the LDP would take power even if there was a general election again. However, it is unclear whether Prime Minister Okazaki will be able to preserve his position. There has been talk within the LDP that in order to win the general election, the president needs to be replaced first. As Japan is a cabinet system, the leader of the ruling party will soon become the prime minister. Well, even if I become prime minister again, it will be difficult to secure the approval rating as before. For the time being, there will be no room to worry about foreign affairs. Neighboring countries all reacted poorly. As soon as the economy recovered from the recession, Japan engaged in territorial disputes with Korea over Dokdo, China over the Senkaku Islands, and Russia over the 4 northern islands. Here he denied the history of wars of aggression, colonial rule and the Pacific War and showed a movement to increase armaments. With the resignation of the cabinet and the dissolution of the parliament, the revision of the peace constitution, which Prime Minister Okazaki made sure to do within this year, passed away. Korea is also taking a breather. Taejayu said. After defeating Japan, peace has come to the world. I nodded. That's why people should always be kind. A lot of money does not make a developed country, and a strong military power does not make a powerful country. A powerful country must possess the dignity of a powerful country. This would mean that China and Japan are not treated well in the international community. It was estimated that OTK company earned more than 2 trillion yen in one day. Although Toyota suffered a loss in spot as a result of the crash, options made up for it. The problem is that financial companies, especially Japanese financial companies, took on the losses. Before the incident, everyone didn't pay much attention to derivatives, so there was no preparation. It is because he never imagined that Jin Hu-kong would sell his stock in the market. The Japanese government, which had promised to take back stocks at any cost, became a dog chasing chickens. The Japanese financial authorities protested against OTK company, saying it was a stock price manipulation and unfair trading, but Jin Hu-kong countered saying, "Should I get permission to sell my stock?" She also replied that when it comes to derivatives, it was just an investment as a hedge against the spot. Naturally, in order to gain a profit from options by lowering the index by selling a large quantity of spot, the profit from the option must be higher than the loss from the selling of the spot. However, OTK company did the opposite. The loss on selling spot was greater than the loss on option purchase. However, in reality it seems to have made a profit. Because I acquired the spot stock for only 14.97 million yen. OTK company was not the only one who benefited from this incident. As soon as Jin Hu-kong hit the sell bomb and gave the nuance that the US would no longer tolerate a lower yen, hedge funds rushed in and devoured the Japanese stock market. The 14.97 million Toyota shares that Jin Hu-kong threw away were bought by countless organizations and individuals. The public pension fund, crying and eating mustard, put in 4 million shares again, and Zhou Cha swept 3 million shares at a low price and then announced the acquisition of shares. The rest were bought by speculative capitalists. You can't hold them accountable or ask them to return their stocks, so in the end, only the person who suffered is an idiot. Following the order mistake, the Japanese stock market was devastated by the double blow of option shock, and Japanese financial companies shed blood tears as they calculated the option loss. Public pension funds lost more than 3% of the total operating funds. Quarterly losses were the highest ever. This time, Finance Minister Matsukata could not even say, only 3%. The Japanese people's anger exploded, and the public pension fund hastily came up with a countermeasure. The plan is to reduce the excessive share of domestic stock investment and claim compensation from Nishida Securities. The public pension fund is not without responsibility, so it will be limited to partial compensation rather than full compensation, but the prevailing view was that it would be difficult for Nishida Securities to avoid bankruptcy. The problem is that Nishida Securities is the second largest securities company in Japan after Nomura Securities, and the public pension fund owns 8.8% of Nishida Securities. If bankruptcy really becomes a reality, the chaos in the Japanese financial world will only increase. In the dilemma of being unable to do this or that, even the cabinet resigned and the Japanese government plunged into chaos. It was a series of unbelievable things that happened because of a single order mistake. The collapse of the Japanese stock market made a special note around the world. Korea, Japan, and the United States, let alone the United States, have been treated with caution, especially in the United Kingdom. Did you feel the pain of comradeship in the position of being robbed during Brexit? The Financial Times published a series of Brexit specials. For reference, the UK invoked Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty last year, but it is still clinging to Brexit negotiations with the EU. Now there is little time left. On Japanese internet sites, swear words poured out against me along with Prime Minister Okazaki, and the Sankei Shimbun published a picture of me with the title Financial Terrorist in full. Where the hell did you get the picture from? But in fact, it's not the first time they've robbed other people's countries, whether it's British or Japanese capital, that they don't have the right to say. Then when they are robbed, they shout all kinds of death. This is the fire of mine. I sighed and said, I can't go to Japan for a while. Take You comforted me. I can't even go to Disneyland in the future. You can go to Orlando for that. It's not Disneyland, it's Disney World. Later he promised to go hang out with Ellie. But you won't be able to go to Natsukomi this year, will you? It didn't go there. Anyone who hears would think she couldn't go where she often goes. OTK company made a lot of money, but subsidiaries doing business in Japan were subject to a boycott. The biggest spark was OTK Games. The number of light users in Lost Fantasy M has increased noticeably. However, Shigeru Ichikawa had an attitude that it didn't matter. It was better. Now the Japanese game world is so far from the global market trend that it can be called Galapagos. I am planning to take this opportunity to leave Japan and enter the global market properly. We are currently planning mergers and acquisitions of foreign game companies, and there are several projects in preparation. Kyung was amazed. Hey. After all, our Shigeru Ong is something different. At this point it is worth acknowledging. Another company that suffered damage was Faceit. For porn companies, Japan is the second most important market after the US, so it will be hit hard. But Toby wasn't worried at all. Hey, do you think that Japanese people won't watch porn? Even if a person does not play games, he cannot live without watching pornography. Surprisingly, as he said, the actual dropout rate was minimal. There are many other porn sites besides Faceit. Is this the power of content? The aftermath did not subside easily. While the Japanese financial market was shocked, the US, Chinese and Korean stocks, which are expected to benefit from the strong yen, rose all at once. Japan is trying to stabilize the stock market while preparing for trade negotiations with the US. First of all, the act that made Masaru Yoshizawa's accident an issue in the international community was quickly stopped. The memorials set up all over Japan were demolished in an instant, and the reunion protests calling for Masaru to be saved also disappeared. Even if they continue to criticize me, they seem to refrain from talking about Karas. Our total revenue was just over 2 trillion yen. It is expected that the yen will continue to rise for the time being, so the exchange into dollars has also been delayed. Hyunju's older sister shook her head. I think it should be listed in the Guinness Book of Records at this rate of return. Ellie had a look of disappointment. Did the world ever make money so easy? I work overtime every day and I don't make much money even if I work hard. I am also amazed at the earnings. It's like money that just fell from the sky. So what should I do with this money now? Taekyu put his hand on my shoulder and said, My friend, I earned like a dog, so why not spend it together with Jong-sung? I nodded. That's right. Since it's Japanese money anyway, I'll spend it where it's supposed to be, right? OTK company established foundation for damages to Japanese colonialization. 5 trillion won to the OTK Company Foundation. Scheduled to support descendants of independence fighters, victims of comfort women and victims of forced labor. Related groups all express their gratitude. Wednesday rally in front of the Japanese embassy. Laughter blooms. When the article went out, Japan burst into outrage. There is no name written on the money, but it is not even necessary to know what money the OTK company pays for the foundation contributions. The comfort women and forced labor victims shed tears of joy, and netizens welcomed it. Kiki supporting independence fighters and victims with the money of Japanese children. Park Si-hyung agreed to receive only 1 billion yen, but Kang Jin-woo scraped more than 2 trillion yen. I am not envious of a well-bred speculator and 10 politicians. Thank you, Prime Minister Okazaki. Now that you have paid enough compensation, all you need to do is get down on your knees on a heated iron plate and apologize. This is true patriotism. Korea is a country with a strong earthquake. Alas, the soup fills my chest. Nakyung Yun, Jonghai Lee and Agi Deskar? 5 trillion won is too little. You said you made over 20 trillion this time? Isn't the rest in my pocket? Where is the speculator class? In the end you got all your share. What kind of patriot is that guy? Damn man. Give it all away without leaving a single penny. Have you ever paid 100,000 won? Anyway, people who have never donated before are sitting with decorations when other people donate. After work was done, I got calls from all directions. Threat calls from Japanese right-wing groups and yakuzas were also received. The staff responded as they had been trained in advance. Do you guys dare attack Japan? Oe Company in Gangjin Hugo, I will destroy everything. If you keep doing this, I will report it to the police. Kyuso. Do you think we're afraid of the police? Ah, since we are an American corporation, a report will be filed with the American police. We have already asked the FBI to cooperate. What group did you mention earlier? 2222. As the largest shareholder's stake was torn to shreds, Toyota was busy with internal affairs. Support from the Japanese government was also temporarily suspended, and Japan's auto alliance faced a crisis. Daryl said as if he was feeling cool. In the meantime, I made a fuss about public traffic accidents and continued to publish driving data, and it turned out badly. Before I sold, Warren Boat organized some Japanese companies' portfolios and made a profit by betting on the foreign exchange market. Chairman Im Jin-yong and the presidents of domestic conglomerates all gave congratulations. Among them, Vice Chairman Shin Byung-do of RCK Brothers. Congratulations CEO Kang Jin-woo. I heard it from a friend at Nomura Securities and he really turned Japan upside down. Vice Chairman Shin Byung-do worked at Nomura Securities before joining RCK Brothers. As such, he must have heard the reaction of the Japanese stock market in real time. Looks like he has something to say other than congratulations. No matter how cold-hearted an investor, it's only natural that he's concerned about his only daughter, right? If you're worried about glass, you don't have to. I don't know if this is for nothing in the company or not. Is it possible? I am doing good enough now. That is it. I think he is very talented. Otherwise, I wouldn't have chosen it in the first place. They praise their children but no parent hates them. At my words, Vice Chairman Shin Byung-do said he liked it and didn't know what to do. If the representative saw it that way, it must be so. Yuri is really talented in that area. Ah, I'm so glad. Read more at wuxiax.com. I woke up and opened my eyes. Ellie was nowhere to be seen, and the sound of the shower came from the bathroom. A wet sweatshirt lay on the floor. After a while, after taking a shower, Ellie came out wearing a robe. Woke up. Have you been exercising since morning? I did it for a while. How about breakfast? I had a cup of coffee. I didn't even eat dinner last night, would that be enough? Eat something. Ellie firmly shook her head. I won't eat anything until filming. Today is none other than a shooting day. Ellie decided to model her advertisements at the earnest request of Vestor's president. Advertisements should be filmed at the beach, but it is still winter in Korea. She says she is looking for a vacation spot in the Philippines or Indonesia as a filming location. First of all, we are going to do an indoor photo shoot today. Ellie said she was starving and prepared diligently to make her look even a little prettier. She said, I have been receiving skincare from the Hotel Aesthetic since a month ago. How is it? Doesn't it look a little better? It's pretty if you don't. Chait, these days the cameras are so good that they even catch all the blemishes. Aren't you going to make corrections after you've filmed everything? Yes. Ellie dried her hair and then put on her clothes. Can't we go together? At my words, Ellie shook her head. No. A natural expression is important, But I think Jinhoo will be concerned if he sees it. I'm kind of ashamed too. And when Jinhoo arrives, will her staff feel burdened so she will do her job properly? Well, I guess so. Few people know that Ellie is my lover. Business people and Golden Gate employees? It is said that people who are shooting commercials today only know about foreign models. Ellie, who was all dressed, kissed lightly. They say it will be over in the afternoon, so I'll call you right away. I see. The photo shoot took place at the Sangamdong studio owned by GJ Media. The photographer in charge of the photo shoot is Eun-ho Jang, a famous photographer who can only be recognized by his name in the fashion world. The makeup and costume team were dispatched from Wester's headquarters. When Ellie arrived at the filming location alone and went into the waiting room, the makeup artist and hair designer stuck together and moved their hands frantically. The makeup artist constantly admired and praised them. "How? You're really so pretty. My skin is clean, so I think I only need to apply basic makeup, lipstick and eyeshadow. Thank you." That being said, I did everything I had to do. After the makeup was done, Ellie, with the help of the costume staff, changed into her rash guard to avoid damaging her makeup and hair. After a long process, she finally stood in front of the camera. Don't think of it as a photo shoot, make a natural expression. If you take pictures for a long time, you can tell whether the person in front of you has talent as a model or not just by taking one picture. Again, the moment I pressed the shutter, I felt it. Eun-ho Jang continued to press the shutter and asked the people who came out of the headquarters in a low voice. "Is that woman really not a model but an ordinary person?" "Yes. Today is the first time for a photo shoot." "Where the hell did you find this mask?" "It's an employee of a business partner I met by chance because of work. The CEO of Bester, Mina Huang, personally invited me." "Are you an employee? Do you have any plans to model in earnest?" "It's too precious to do anything else." As the tension seemed to have been relieved to some extent, the filming continued while changing the concept in earnest. "This time it feels like you're staring at me. Laugh out loud. Big smile. 5. I just had a good look." Reach out her hand a little higher with that expression. The models in the fashion pictorial are sophisticated and elegant. However, the actual filming went insanely busy. If I took hundreds of photos, I could barely get one or two out of them. Ellie was constantly in front of the camera in her rash guards, leggings, t-shirts and outerwear, and she had to tweak her makeup and hairstyle a little bit each time to match her clothes. As stated in the shooting contract in advance, she didn't have much exposure, and she posed mainly in active poses befitting of sportswear. It wasn't usually hard for her to get her poses and expressions while the camera shutters went off. In addition, the lighting that was shining so hot that the skin was too high. She thought she was confident in her physical strength, but she said that after a few hours of filming she was exhausted. She skipped a few meals and she was very hungry. Modeling isn't something everyone does. Ellie said that she was the honor of Golden Gate, and she did her best to shoot her with the determination to leave a pretty picture. Filming started early in the morning and ended before evening. She's not quite there, and once she's checked out the photos she's taken, she decides whether or not to shoot further. Ellie put on her sweatpants and waited. Instead of eating, she drank the juice she had prepared beforehand and she sent a flick to Jinhoo. "I think it's almost over. I'm hungry, so let's go eat." The Korean chaebols grew mainly through manufacturing and construction. However, GJ Group has grown into distribution service and media uniquely. In particular, it boasted an unrivaled position in the media and entertainment fields. It has 13 cable channels and its subsidiaries are countless. It has a film, music, performance and broadcasting platform, and based on this, it hosts large-scale performances and awards ceremony in Asia every year. Jin Wook-yu was the head of the entertainment team at GJ Media. People were lining up in this small land, eager to appear on TV. The position of the general entertainment team leader has the authority to cast any person desired. And he knew how to use that power better than anyone else. Eugene Wook, who stopped by the studio because he had a schedule even on the weekend, left the work to someone else and looked around leisurely. Meanwhile, he saw a woman sitting on the set. Wow. What is that girl? He's been tired of meeting women until now, and he's met quite a few foreign women while studying abroad. He also has a couple of girlfriends he is currently dating. If she's just a pretty girl like a doll, she's all over the entertainment industry and agency. But the woman in front of me was something different. Along with her beauty, her intense vitality exuded, and her intelligence and dignity were felt. She had the overwhelming charm that would make her a top star. As he gave his instructions, the manager Young Woo-young, who followed him, immediately recognized the woman as if he was familiar with this kind of thing. This is the best advertising model. It is said that she did a photo shoot today. What company? It doesn't appear to be. At that, Jin Wook-yu smiled, saying that it was good. Okay. Then I should introduce you to a good job. Large agencies and agencies have strict management of their entertainers. Later on, bad things can happen. However, a powerless small and medium-sized agency or individual could easily cover up a problem even if it occurred. He naturally approached the foreign model who was sitting and resting. Hello, good to see you. Foreign model. Ellie raised her head and looked at her opponent. Age is early 30s. She is tall and has a pretty face. Her hairstyle was neat and she wore silver-rimmed glasses. She could recognize at a glance that the clothes she was wearing as well as her shoes and watches were all her masterpieces. Yes. What do you want? Do you have a time for talk with me? Before he could hear her answer, he sat down next to her. Eli asked in Korean. Who are you? Eugene Wook was half-hearted. You can speak Korean. If there is a Korean patch, it's me, thank you. He went to study abroad when he was young, but in fact his English was not very good. Are you a professional fashion model? No. This is my first time filming. You are new. I'm not a strange person, I am this kind of person. He pulled out a business card holder from the inside pocket of his suit and held out a business card. Eli took the card and looked at it. There, along with the title of GJ Media's General Entertainment Team Leader, was written the name Eugene Wook. Chief of the entertainment team? Yes. He is in charge of all the entertainment programs broadcast on the GJ Media channel, and is mainly responsible for organizing entertainment and recruiting performers. Although it is close to an honorary position that does not actually do anything, it was also a position where it was easy to put a minor role in a drama or a guest. That's great. To take on such a big job at such a young age. Haha, actually, my father is the chairman of GJ Group. Thanks to this, I grew up learning this job from a young age. Ellie recalled the GJ Group family tree in her head. Chairman Yu Byung-moon said he had a youngest son, and it seems to be this person. I see. What's going on? I was looking for a foreigner suitable for a variety show right now and I wanted to cast it. Do you know of a program called Street Truck? I've heard it. Street Truck is an entertainment program that travels around each region in a foreign food truck and sells Korean food to foreigners. It may not sound like much, but it has exploded in popularity. Season 1 has been successfully completed, and Season 2 production is now underway. As you may not know, Street Truck is an entertainment program that has an average viewership rating of over 15% and is exported to 12 countries. If you make an appearance, you will be able to make your name known to the whole nation. It's true that Street Truck Season 2 has a production schedule, but even that doesn't mean you can't push the main cast at will. I don't know if it will or not. If not, we can just push him as a suitable entertainment guest. These days, models are actively entering the entertainment industry. You speak Korean so well, so if you make your debut, you will be able to achieve great success as a celebrity. What do you think? As he spoke, he brought his body closer together, then subtly placed one hand on his thigh and touched his shoulder and back with the other. By this time she could tell what kind of intention she was approaching unless she was an idiot. Ellie hardened her expression and spoke coldly. "Okay, put your hands away. If you touch my body one more time, I won't be able to stand still. It's also attractive to bounce. Well, it's no fun if it goes smoothly." Eugene Wook said with a smirk. "Ah, that's good. You have to have that kind of personality to be able to adapt well to performing arts. When viewers see a model, the most important thing is the waistline." Then he wrapped his hands around Ellie's waist as if lavishly. For an unknown model or celebrity, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As much as you throw in an offer that you can't refuse, you will have no choice but to fall for it. But that's just his opinion. At that moment, something flashed before her eyes and passed. Then intense pain crept across his face. Eugene Wook grabbed his nose and screamed. My nose. My nose is broken." Nostrils were dripping from his nostrils. Director Young Woo-young, who was watching from behind him, ran quickly to stop the bleeding. "Wait, are you okay? Damn it. Does this look okay now? This crazy bitch hit me." "Gee, calm down. Director Jung Woo-young barely ripped open his fists and was about to run to the woman. As the commotion broke out, the film crew, the people of Vester's headquarters and the security guards rushed in. As if he was hit by one shot, he could not see anything, and Eugene Wook poured out abusive language that was difficult to put into his mouth. "Do you think it will be okay if you do this to me?" Ellie asked with her arms crossed. "What if it doesn't go well?" Eugene Wook looked around him, covering his nose with his handkerchief, and shouted, "You are finished. I will never set my feet on this floor again." In the entertainment industry, it is the end of GJ Media's eyes. But for her, this is neither a main job nor a side job. "Even if I couldn't put my feet up again, there was no problem in living and eating." Ellie nodded her head. "Good for you. I don't even want to set foot on this floor." When the warning didn't work at all, Eugene Wook became even more angry. "What are you looking at, bastards? Report it to the police right now." Director Jung Woo-young had a confused expression on his face. "If you report it to the police, things will get bigger." While everyone hesitated, Ellie pulled out her cell phone. "Nothing to shout. I will report it." Ellie immediately called 112. "Is it the police station? I just wanted to report you because I was sexually harassed." The police arrived 15 minutes after reporting. Eugene Wook grabbed his swollen nose and kept screaming, and Jung Woo-young explained the situation instead. First of all, he announced that Jin Wook-yu was the son of GJ Group chairman Yoo Byung-moon. Then the attitude of the police changed. "Because that woman hit me. What are you doing? The police don't catch criminals. One is a female model and the other is a son of a chaebol family. I didn't even have to think about who to side with." The police approached Ellie and said, "I will arrest you as a suspect in assault." If it had been before, she might have been surprised. But now that I have been in Korea for several years, this situation is not surprising. Ellie said with a puzzled expression on her face. "I am the reporter. Are you denying the assault?" "It was in self-defense against sexual harassment." Eugene Wook shouted again. "What is sexual harassment? I just approached him and talked to him." Ellie pointed to the CCTV on the ceiling. "There is CCTV over there. If you just check the video, it will come out soon." Director Jung Woo-young said as if nothing was wrong. Read more at wuxiax.com. The CCTV was under inspection, so the screen was not recording. "I'll have to contact the security team ASAP and instruct them to delete the video," said the police. "If you have something to say, go to the SEO. It doesn't matter. Why are you arresting me alone? Shouldn't that person do it too? Is there any evidence that there was sexual harassment? If done wrong, it could even add to the innocence. It's strange. If the victim is filing a complaint, why are you talking about innocence? Is it okay for the police to conduct a fair investigation like this? Isn't the person over there sure of the damage and has no witnesses? The witness is a subordinate. If you keep doing this, you will have no choice but to put on handcuffs." Another police officer asked, "Are you a foreigner? Please show me your alien registration card for identification." Ellie took out her alien registration card and her business card and held it out. When the police saw it, their eyes widened. Hey, you're a lawyer. You are working at the Golden Gate Korean branch." Eugene Wook made an embarrassed expression. "What? Is this woman a lawyer? What nonsense is she talking about?" He took the business card from the policeman's hand. There it was written that he really had the title of head of legal team 1 at Golden Gate. "Hey, this could be real. You're acting as a Golden Gate lawyer with a face like this? Anyone who sees it looks like a model. Does this make sense? If you don't believe me, call the company." The policeman who pulled out the handcuffs stopped. "If you are just a foreign model, you can arrest him without any hesitation, but if you are a Golden Gate lawyer, it is a different story," Ellie told the police. "But don't the Korean police announce the Miranda principle when they make an arrest?" That's what. You can exercise your right to remain silent. Since you know what it is, I'll do what I heard. Rather, I will sue that man for sexual assault, so arrest him as a current criminal. You're not the only one arrested, are you?" The police said to Jin Wook-yu as if there was nothing he could do. "I think we should go together." "What? That bitch hit me, so why am I going to the police station? Anyway, you have to tell the victim." "You don't know who I am, do you?" Ellie told the police. "Can I call you for a second? I think I need to tell you a little bit about the situation." "Who are you talking to?" Ellie looked at Eugene Wook running rampant along the road, Clutching her broken nose, she said. Your boyfriend. Even while Ellie was on the phone, Eugene Wook sweared and shouted. As I was just talking. Is it okay to convict someone as a molester without evidence like this? In fact, there was evidence of CCTV, but GJ Media would never submit it to the police. Ellie nodded her head. Yes. You can't be accused of molesting a person without evidence. Knowing that. Ellie looked up at her cell phone, which she had just finished talking to. So I've been recording since I sat next to you. Would this be enough evidence? Eugene Wook was surprised. What? Who wants to record? Isn't this illegal wiretapping? It is legal for the parties to record. Ellie took off her zip-up she was wearing. She wore a clinging bra top underneath, revealing her giddy waistline and abdomen. In the midst of this, Gene Wook turned his gaze towards it. You said that you never touched my body, so if your fingerprints come out of this dress, it will prove that you were molested. Ellie handed her clothes to her costume staff. Please cover it with plastic and submit it to the police. Oh, I see. The costume staff was embarrassed, but carefully accepted the clothes so as not to get other fingerprints on them. The zip is made of polyester. It is not known whether or not he will be able to take actual fingerprints, but Eugene Wook was bewildered. Combining the recording and the prints on the clothes would be sufficient circumstantial evidence. That doesn't mean you can't run into the police force to take your cell phone and clothes. When Gene Wook sent a glance to do something, Director Young Woo-young quickly shook his head. It would be better to reach an agreement before the problem escalates. Or do something before going to the police station. Fortunately, he didn't have to worry about what number to use and how to make his head hurt. Because Ellie's boyfriend had arrived. Arrived early. Because it was the road I had come to hear that it was over. But what happened? Why are the police here? Eugene Wook turned his head. He had taken off his glasses as he was covering his nose, so his vision was a bit blurry. At a glance, he was a Korean man in his mid-20s. He laughed and said, What? Is this guy a lover? Does anything change when she gets to her lover? However, the reaction of other people was a bit strange. All of him had his eyes wide open and his mouths wide open. Director Young Woo-young, who was next to him, as well as the police, were the same. What is it? Do you know anyone? He concentrated on looking at the man. Somehow it seemed familiar. No, I was actually familiar with it. Maybe the whole nation. No, the whole world would know that man's face. I was so surprised that I didn't even feel the pain in my throbbing nose. Maybe this is real? I couldn't quite believe it. But even when she shut her eyes tightly and opened them, nothing changed. For a moment there was only one thing that came to mind. It's fucked up. Byung Moon-yu, chairman of GJ Group. He married the daughter of the president of KG Vision following the wishes of his parents who wanted to advance into the media field when he was young. With that marriage, GJ Media and KG Vision merged, and they were able to grow into today's giant media company. From a group point of view, it was a successful marriage, but from an individual point of view, it was not. Marriage without love was just an obligation. And by his duty he bore him 3 sons. Then around his 40s he met a female employee and fell in love with her. So while he was living in 2 houses, he had a son and named him Jin Wook. After her wife died of an illness 15 years ago, Yoo Byung-moon remarried her and put Jin Wook in his family register. He already had no major problems as he had fully inherited the GJ Group and had established himself in the business world. However, the 3 sons were extremely restrained by their stepmother and half-brother. Yoo Byung-moon declared that he would never hand over management rights to Eugene Wook, and the sons accepted Eugene Wook and his stepmother as a family. For Yoo Byung-moon, Eugene Wook was a sore finger. As he was an illegitimate child, it always bothered me that he was not properly cared for as a child. Moreover, while the other children took each affiliate as their share, all he could give to Jin Wook was a little fortune. So he felt even more sorry and gave him anything he wanted. While I was resting after finishing work, Myung-jae Lee, manager of the keynote room, came in and said, "It is said that team leader Eugene Wook molested a model in the studio. People are often surprised when faced with unexpected situations. He'd been through something similar on several occasions already, so it's no surprise now." Chairman Yoo Byung-moon sighed and said, "I wanted to be quiet for a while and then I had another accident. Even if you are the chairman of a chaebol group, your children are not going to go the way you want them to. Send lawyer Kim to take care of it. There are some problems." "What's wrong?" Have you already been on social media? Posts are posted on social media these days when things just happen. Even if the media can make them quiet, it is difficult to use their hands on overseas social media. The woman is said to be Kang Jin-hoo's lover. Chairman Yoo Byung-moon asked as if he did not understand. After Kang Jin-hui? Isn't it supposed to be Kang Jin-hoo? That Kang Jin-hoo is right. CEO of OTK company. Who's Jin-hoo Kang? It was not long ago that the Japanese stock market was crushed by his hand and the House of Representatives was dissolved. By the way, who did Jin-wook touch? Kang Jin-hoo's lover must be a female employee of Golden Gate. It is a fact that everyone in the business world knows, as it has been brought to the opening party of the Salon Hotel. Director Lee Myung-jae explained the situation. So Jin-hoo Kang personally came to the spot. Chairman Yoo Byung-moon said urgently. Where is he now? I just contacted you and they say you are going to Gangnam Plastic Surgery Clinic. What? Why plastic surgery? I'm going to do rhinoplasty while I'm still being treated. Rhinoplasty in this situation? Is this guy insane now? Chairman Yoo Byung-moon immediately called his youngest son. Come to work right now. About 20 minutes later, Jin-wook-yoo entered the president's office. What are you doing, father? He had a bandage on his nose. Normally, I would have reassured him if he was sick, but now is not the time. Is it true that he had an accident in the studio? Eugene Wook said as if making an excuse. It's not that big of a deal. But, as you can see, it was me. As he speaks, it seems as if he has no idea what he has done. Chairman Yoo Byung-moon screamed. That woman is Jin-hoo Kang's lover. Do you not know who Jin-hoo Kang is? Eugene Wook said in a hoarse voice. Aren't you supposed to be one of many lovers anyway? Chairman Yoo Byung-moon was at a loss for words. Do you know that everyone in the world is the same? As he knows, Jin Wook-yoo is currently dating 5 or 6 women at the same time. Originally, people were corporations that played with each other, so the guys who got along with them also met several women. So it was not unreasonable to think so. Rather, it was unusual for a wealthy man to date only one woman by Eugene Wook's standards. Chairman Yoo Byung-moon himself did the same, so he has nothing to say. But she wasn't after the earthquake. If it had been, the rumors would have spread all over the business world. If your father speaks well, won't it be moderate even if you look at your face? Yoo Byung-moon, whom Jin Wook-yoo saw, was an absolute authority. He was the king of the gigantic kingdom of the GJ Group, and there was nothing he couldn't say. In fact, Yoo Byung-moon has easily solved the big and small accidents so far. So he would do something like that even now, he was vaguely thinking. If he touches another chaebol's lover, he will be able to move on moderately considering his relationship with the GJ Group. However, there was no reason for Kang Jin-hoo to do that. The 5th group presidents are also bowing their heads to enter. Who can control Kang Jin-hoo in Korea? What should I do? With that in mind, manager Lee Myung-jae came back inside. We have received a call from the marketing department of Seosung Electronics. What brings you here? I will cancel all contracts and remove all advertisements. What? Seosung Electronics is the largest company in Korea. As sales are high, advertising costs are also high. If advertisements are removed from all channels, GJ Media will be in the red. It doesn't matter if other companies fill the void. The same goes for other Seosung Group affiliates. Also, Unsung Motor Group, CL Group and SSK Group said they would cut off all advertisements and terminate the contract. It didn't end here. Reports kept coming. All of them will cut off all ties with GJ Group affiliates as soon as the contract period ends, including advertising as well as food materials and logistics. Chairman Yoo Byung-moon's expression hardened. For once, only groups related to OTK company moved, but once the rumors spread, there is no way that other groups will stand still. GJ Group focuses on the service industry, not the manufacturing industry. As the area occupied by B2B is large, if chaebol groups turn their backs all at once, the entire group may collapse. By this time, Jin Wook-yoo finally realized the sim awakened of the situation. What are you doing, Dad? Chairman Yoo Byung-moon smirked. I was raised too much and the child became an idiot. The investigation was later decided and the police returned. Jin Wook-yoo left the place in a hurry as if he was running away, and I was able to hear more details after that. That guy molested Ellie. Not only that. According to the head office staff, 2 years that year and a crazy year are the basics, and all kinds of double lust and sexual abuse were poured out. Just by hearing it, my anger rose to the top of my head. But Ellie didn't seem to mind. It's okay. As I was fed properly. First, let's go eat with the staff who worked hard on filming. I'm hungry. How about beef? No beef or whatever, first that guy. Ellie told her staff. My boyfriend says he buys beef. Please give me a round of applause. The staff applauded all at once, even though they were bewildered, and suddenly I was dragged to the dining room. Ellie greeted not only the photographer in charge of the shoot, but also her staff one by one. Everyone worked hard. Unlike me, who doesn't go down her throat with beef or anything, Ellie was very hungry, so she ate 3 servings alone on the spot. The other staff also ate hard, so the meal cost millions of won. I don't know why I'm living here, but after paying the bill, I headed straight to Hyunju's sisters. I called Taekyu, who was playing at home. Taekyu, who ran after a month, said as soon as he saw. What is this smell? Did you eat beef without me? It doesn't matter now. Is there anything more important than beef? Surprisingly, there is. Ellie told her what had happened in the studio. Taekyu was angry and his sister smiled bitterly. It happened again after a while. Yes. Again. Do you know that this never happened in the company? She hasn't been the only one in her manhood who has been flirting with Ellie since she joined Golden Gate. Read more at wuxiax.com. There are human beings everywhere because they can't use even a rat's tail of power. Instead of being quiet, Ellie thoroughly gathered evidence and blew up a prominent executive. And since then, Golden Gate has come up with strong punishment and measures to prevent reoccurrence of sexual crimes within the company. I've heard rumors that the youngest son of Chairman Yoo Byung-moon is an asshole, but I'm sure Eli would do it. After a while, Sanjiop Sr. came over. In the meantime, he contacted EDM Entertainment to find out about Jin Wook-yu. This bastard is so trash. It's famous for forcibly touching girls who think they're pretty. There were several lawsuits, all of which were dropped with money and pressure. Taekyu asked. Then why didn't it appear on the news? Maybe there is no head. I guess I touched trainees and aspiring students rather than debuted celebrities. They don't even touch the kids of large agencies, focusing on the kids of small and medium-sized agencies. That's because they have no choice but to look closely at GJ Media. If there was a problem, he showed up in moderation, pushed me and calmed me down. Of course, the person who was usually good and sincere is not the only one who accidentally sees Ellie and she has a bad heart. He was just that kind of guy. She said that if Ellie had been a normal model, she wouldn't have been told that she shouldn't be more serious. The more I thought about it, the more angry I got. What should I do with this child? Taejayu said. How are you? She needs to be stomped on. Same idea. While we were talking, I got a phone call from Chairman Im Jin-young. I heard that there was an unfortunate incident with the GJ group. The rumors are really fast. Where the hell did you hear that? Chairman Im Jin-young said with a smile. I knew that Chairman Yoo Byung-moon's youngest son's love was unusual, but he had an accident. People who run wild without knowing anything about the world are so scary. In fact, it is not a day or two for the sons of chaebol families to buy and run. It is only one truck that is reported in the media, and there will be dozens or hundreds of times more that are not reported. It's not a problem with the group, it's just that the president's son made a big mistake to Eli. As soon as I heard it, I ordered all group companies to remove all advertisements. I was quite surprised by that. It's my job. Do you really need to do that? The same goes for other groups. By now, Unsung Motor Group and SSK Group would have contacted me to remove all advertisements. Are you okay though? GJ Media is an absolute powerhouse in the broadcasting industry. If all of those ads are removed, the companies that offer them will also be hit. Fine. Something like this happens once and you boycott it as a group, you can significantly lower the unit price when renegotiating later. It's good to save money on advertising. I laughed bitterly. Because someone is not an entrepreneur, you don't do business that makes a loss. Well, it's about when things went well with your juniors. Otherwise, the GJ group will be decomposed. I'm already in a position to blow up a business group. What do you plan to do? I said it like it was natural. How are you doing? If you have sinned, you must pay for your sins.